We got our good friend Naeem Abul Hawa. What up, Naeem?
Hey, what's going on? What's going on, viewers?
Ah,
It's good to be back on Get the Memo. It's been
that's
a
right.
while. Yeah, I went halfway around the world and back, and here we are.
So let's go ahead and talk about the Georgia runoffs. So yesterday, last night, the campaign with Raphael Warnock, Senator Raphael Warnock, and idiot black dude, Republican dude, basically Herschel Walker ended. Raphael Warnock beat Herschel Walker in the Senate runoff this time around. He's going. He's reelected to his first 6-year term as senator.
Mm-hmm.
We released our video on that race, and you guys can check that out on our channel. It was recently just posted, so go ahead and check that out. But
All right, cut that out.
We're live. How am I gonna cut that out?
Whatever. I got a refill, so
What refill did you get?
I got salmon.
Oh,
Seaweed, jalapenos, rice, ginger. It's real good.
You know what?
Not as good as Hershey Hirsch. Hershey Hirsch, man. That guy couldn't even walk after he found out he lost.
He was like, and I thought getting sacked in football was worse. Getting tackled. Anyway, you won't know what that means. So, when I wish Oscar was here, he'd laugh at that.
He was playing with the Cowboys for a long while.
He was. 1997 was last year. So, anyway, we posted that video on the channel. By the way, was that your mom?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what's good? Buttermilk salmon.
That is not a bad idea. This one's with garlic and jalapenos and
my dad makes a killer ass buttermilk salmon.
Mm-hmm.
So if you ever come over, I'll have him make. Oh, there's a lot of good shit he makes. But anyway,
I whip up some mad good food, but salmon is definitely my mom's strength.
Oh, dude, my dad can make some bomb ass salmon, but his barbecue is the best. So Raphael Warnock wins. There's a lot to say here. I'll summarize my takes basically. The first take I had was, okay, this makes Georgia a swing state in 2 years. This also means that Republicans are going to have a little bit more of a difficult time flipping it. Now with Ossoff, maybe, but
Ossoff is in election 26, right?
No, because well, yes, actually, yes. But the other thing too is, and while I look up in the chat what Oscar did, God, Jesus, he's gonna get me banned.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I'll say is, look, candidate quality absolutely matters. And, last time around we had Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, and the problem with them was the stock trading, and it was a really bad time for them to do that, the insider trading, because of the fact that it was COVID, and they basically made money off of people getting sick off COVID. Why am I saying that word on this channel? C-19, that thing that shut down the world. You know what I'm talking about, C-19. I can't say the actual, but because of their shenanigans and bullcrap during the pandemic, they got voted out. And it was a very good campaign run by Joe Biden, Raphael Warnock, and John Ossoff. This time around, you had an idiot who had a bunch of violence allegations, a dissociative identity, personality disorder, whatever. One of his personalities a guy would kill you. He wanted to kill people. He had extramarital affairs. He had infidelity. He had everything you could imagine. And I think that created a massive disaster for the Republicans. What is your takeaway on what happened and why this happened?
There's a few things. Number one, don't claim you're the most pro-life politician if you literally did easily, what was it, 10 abortions?
Probably.
Yeah. There's that. The reality of the situation is he was not from Georgia. And I don't know why the Republicans thought they can do that. They try to do that with Dr. Oz. a New Jersey resident in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
They tried to do that with Herschel Walker, a Texas resident in Georgia.
Yep.
Was Herschel Walker a legend in Georgia at one point because he was part of the University of Georgia Bulldogs, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, probably. But in
But that was
his last many years, he's lived in Texas.
yeah, and that was back in the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s that he was. So people that were really in love with him back then, some are probably not alive, some are probably older, some are probably out of the state. So really, yeah, I mean, Democrats do the same thing with Joe Crowley, if you remember who that guy is, right? AOC beat him. At the time, we thought it was the best thing ever. Now she's just an establishment ghoul. You know, he Oscar's comment in the chat, but he had a house in West Virginia or whatever, or Virginia, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he was still in New York. But and again, I mean, yeah, a guy that doesn't even know Georgia issues, and you can't fake it. And
I mean, and he literally said he was at a student event last week, and there was audio leaked of him literally saying, "The reason I was inspired to run for Senate in Georgia is because when I lived in Texas, I saw the border issues in Texas. So that means you should have run for Senate in Texas, bro."
Well, he couldn't because, again, Republicans were running in Texas. Why would he run against the Republicans? Now, maybe as a primary challenger. But
yeah, he could primary Ted Cruz, right?
He could.
People don't like Ted Cruz. You saw at the Astros. I mean, not the Astros. The game that he went to and people booed him to the high heavens.
Yes, I think it was the Rangers.
Yeah, it was some sort of game. That was hilarious, by the way. Some dude tried to throw a beer can at him.
So, by the way, Oscar said, so when your mom interrupted to give you a refill, he said that girls interrupting your life, that's not new.
Oh, really? You think so?
That's what Oscar said.
At least they're interrupting my life. They're not even in your life, Oscar.
Oh! Oh!
Who's been single since that one Super Bowl?
Oh! Oh!
Hey, that phone number, that person who just called you, was some hotline, some chat sex line trying to tell Oscar that he should join them for $1 a month.
Oh! Boom, boom, boom! Shots fired, Oscar! Damn! Oh,
at least Herschel Walker had abortions to pay for.
Oh, okay, that's not a good.
No, that's not a good one. That one's pretty fucked up. But
at least he killed babies.
At least he made babies that he can kill.
What the fuck is this turning out? What the fuck, Naive?
I'm gonna get your stream banned.
Banned is an understatement. What the fuck? But goddamn, those other jokes against Oscar. Damn! Oscar, no comments?
Oh, he's busy calling that chat line back.
Oh!
Candidate quality, the fact that he's not from the state, the fact that he has way too many scandals on his back. And I think the reality situation is, Mitch McConnell was not interested in helping him out. Mitch McConnell was not interested in helping Blake Masters out. Mitch McConnell was not interested in helping, a lot of these guys out. He wasn't really putting too much into JD Vance, for example, until the last minute. So
yeah, I do think so. And then also, there's a lot of things that really went into it too. And
Herschel Walker was the one Trump wanted. No one else really wanted Herschel Walker.
No one else wanted Herschel Walker.
And even Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, was asked to go down and campaign for Herschel this weekend. He chose not to.
Well, he's got a very big business, and well, the Carlyle Group. How big is that?
Carlisle's pretty large. But
Yeah,
I mean,
but if you think
now
about it,
he's
rich
technically
people are.
governor, so he wouldn't even be dealing with Carlisle, really. But he
You know,
chose actively not to campaign for Glenn Youngkin. He's can't. I mean, for Glenn Youngkin, for Herschel Walker, he's campaigned for others. Why not
sure,
Herschel?
but the point is he's still kind of associated with, in some way, in one way or another, the Carlyle Group.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, you know how rich people, rich folks are. I researched it. The main people that invest with Carlyle Group are wealthy
Mm-hmm.
individuals, not people like me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Though they are very socially liberal. Well, Glenn Youngkin, not much, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, he understands this guy's got a billion problems. He's
Mm-hmm.
also not right on the policy of abortion. So, and the other thing too is, aside from the character, policies just weren't there.
Because Glenn Youngkin would prefer campaign for J.D. Vance over Herschel Walker.
Well, JD Vance was a guy that released an ad. He says every morning, in my family, I cook breakfast. But now, ever since Joe Biden's been in power, breakfast is more expensive. Those are the kinds of ads you need against Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have nothing else to say on the race. I think where this puts Republicans is a very important thing. Oh, the last thing I'll say is, look, Trump wanted him. So again, that begs the question: do the Republicans step away from Trump or and his strategy and go with theirs, even though they've also been known to fail, or do they do something else?
Mm.
And you see what I mean? I mean,
Yeah. And that makes me ask the question, you know, Georgia has proven to have Republican voters more so than Trump voters. Because there's always been this difference between Trump Republicans and Republican Republicans, right? These are the guys who would vote for Brian Kemp, vote for Brad Raffensperger, vote for the other big Georgia Republicans, but wouldn't vote for the Trump endorsed candidate in Herschel Walker. Remember, um, Brian Kemp won in 2018. Brian Kemp won again in 2022, but Biden won in 2020 in Georgia. So what does that say about Georgia versus other Republican states? Is Georgia just not a Trumpy state?
well, Trump barely lost to Biden in Georgia. So I think it's that Trump is staying away from the red meat type of policies and he's going too far, I think. Whereas if he needs to follow the strategy of because the people who are winning in the Republican Party in Georgia are people in who are staying in the state, not going to Washington, if
Mm-hmm.
you notice.
Yeah.
So Brian Kemp caters exactly to Georgia, exactly what they want to hear when they want to hear it. And Trump doesn't. Trump is all about him
About
and
stop the steal.
about stop the steal, and it's just not welcome. And look, is there something to say about the accuracy of the election? Maybe. I personally don't think so. I think the election was just fine, but that's just me. However, because YouTube is a hypocrite, the elections, according to the security state, was the best election ever run in 2020. It was the most secure election ever, and there were no issues. Everything was just perfect. I have to get that out of the way on YouTube, or I'll get.
Was it more perfect? Was it more perfect than Trump's Ukraine call with Volodymyr Zelensky?
Or more perfect than 2016 election, because you can talk about the 2016 election. You can say that Trump's not a legitimate former president, that
Mm.
this and this and that. You can say that. However, you cannot say that Biden's election is not legitimate.
Yeah, yeah,
You
no,
can't
that's
say that.
true. That's true. So what does this
But you can
mean?
say that all about Trump.
Yeah.
So the point is look, the biggest point is this. There's a lot to say about where Trump is leading the party, And the biggest point here is I think he needs to go back to the drawing board and follow state issues because
Mhm.
Georgia should have never gone to Biden ever. And it
Mhm.
did. And it should have never gone Democrat, but it did.
Both their senators are Democrat now. So the results of the 2022 midterm, we could conclusively say, was a net gain for the Democrats in the Senate and a very narrow loss for the Democrats in the House. So now that there's a 51 seat Democrat majority in the Senate, Chuck Schumer could throw away the power sharing agreement he whipped up with Mitch McConnell after the 2020 election. Now he could go ahead and have majorities on his committees if he wants, instead of there being tie breaking votes. Now he can get all kinds of different Biden judges through the Judiciary Committee, right? And he could, he doesn't have to rely on Joe Manchin for every vote. So how do you think this changes the dynamic in the Senate? Or do you think or do you think that Chuck Schumer is now going to duck for cover because he doesn't really have many excuses to get away with not doing a lot?
I think it's going to be the same old Democratic Party. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to help the average Americans. They're going to vote for the same old bullshit. They're going to keep funding Ukraine. They're going to keep funding the military-industrial complex. They're going to keep funding the elites like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. Well, Elon Musk these days, I don't know, but they're just going to keep doing all of that. And I think, they'll get their judges through. They'll get whatever they want through. Again, even if Manchin says no, fine, we got Kamala Harris here, or Kamala Harris, cackling Harris, because all she does is cackle. And then now if they lose Kirsten Sinema, now they're tied with so now they have a problem. So look, the Democrats are not going to change. They just aren't. They're not going to do anything worthwhile. It's all about saving democracy. We don't have a democracy, ladies and gentlemen. We live in an oligarchy. Your democracy, and Jimmy Dore says this all the time, your democracy was stolen from you decades ago. And then when Citizens United, it was definitely stolen from you. You don't have a goddamn democracy. Okay? So, just to end this segment, nothing's going to happen with the Democrats, except they're going to keep voting Biden's agenda through, except the really popular things that would have helped the Democrats get a more sizable win in the Senate and would have kept in the House. But nope, they didn't do that. They went with what Joe Manchin wanted. So
I don't want to get all conspiratorial, but isn't it interesting that Biden decided to do his student debt cancellation on the flimsiest of legal arguments?
Well,
like he could have used certain other acts or certain other legal tools available to him. He chose to use a very flimsy provision, I think, in the Affordable Care Act or something.
Yeah, in the Higher Education
the court
Act,
is going to strike down. The court is going to strike down. So is he just saying, well, I tried, and the big bad conservative Supreme Court shot me down?
Well,
is that basically what he's going to go for, and not have to do any of this?
Possibly, because they're going to hear the case, and I think they are going to shut him down because they're going to say, well, we are funded by the corporations and the big banks and the federal lenders, and you are too. Why are you trying to do this? Right? That your Supreme Court is corrupt, ladies and gentlemen. So, but here's my thought on that. The Higher Education Act of 1965 allows Biden to do this. Everyone says there's no legal argument. That's the legal argument. They passed the law in 65. However,
he didn't use that argument, though, is the point.
He didn't, which I think it would have passed had had that been the argument. However, if it is unconstitutional, it turns out that behind the scenes, Biden knew it was unconstitutional and Biden wanted it to fail. Like he wanted it to fail.
Mm-hmm. He just needed it as a midterm,
and he wanted it. Yeah,
as a midterm campaign strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the midterms,
and a bunch of schmucks can fell for it because they
think
that voting blue. They think that voting blue is gonna help them out.
Vote blue no matter who, isn't that what they say?
Yeah, vote blue no matter who.